Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Ziiq here again today with a new show that I'm going to be calling Anarcho Ziiq. And I have a partner today, Jay. Say hi.
Hello.
Anyways, I located Jay because I felt the need to do some more politically based content, and I need somebody to keep me on a leash to bounce ideas off of, and who is quite possibly a lot more well-read than me. So,
I wouldn't go more well-read.
Possibly.
I just have gone into more specific topics.
Yeah. So you might have noticed I said Anarcho Ziiq at the beginning here. I'm labeling this show that because I have been for a long time an anarchist. And due to recent current events, I've felt more and more of a need to actually create some leftist content, or some content examining games through a leftist lens. This might later on end up as more straight up like informative videos that are edited together, but for now we're actually going to play some leftist games and look at them through an anarchist lens. To that end, I feel like I need to describe to you guys what anarchism is, because there's a lot of misunderstandings about it. So Jay will correct me if I miss anything here, but I'm going to give you a very simple rundown of anarchist belief. It can basically be boiled down to you can't tell anyone what to do. Anarchism is against coercive hierarchies of all type, whether that is the state, the patriarchy, cis-heteronormativity, or any other of 1,000 different hierarchies. We also see the imposition of these hierarchies on people as an act of violence. As violence pervades politics, there is no politics without the threat of violence. So we tend to tie this with a belief in self-defense, which is why anarchists tend to have a reputation for political action. But many anarchists actually take a more communal approach, organize things, feed the poor. There are tons of anarchist actions, and they are very, very misrepresented in the media. So when we interpret something that's happening in Disco Elysium, please remember that we are interpreting it through the lens of somebody who does not want any hierarchy at all. Nobody is in charge of anyone else. And the only crime you can commit is taking away somebody's choices. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's play some Disco Elysium.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
I
felt like a fair thing is also to mention, anarchy as a principle isn't against harm reduction, but boy fucking howdy, you're gonna really struggle to find an anarchist who advocates hard for harm reduction in situations. Which, call me crazy, having played a short bit of this game, but I feel like it's a topic that's gonna come up a few times in this game.
In all honesty, I actually do not take the average anarchist view. Like, I vote, for instance, as a method of harm reduction. Sometimes I will even, like, minorly be in places to infiltrate areas that are not my political view, so I can temper the ideas. My mom actually takes this to a ridiculous extent and has a membership to the Conservative Party in Alberta simply so she can vote in less extreme candidates. She is not a conservative. But anyways, let's start the game. This is Disco Elysium. You guys probably have heard of it before, maybe heard of it as being called Communist Manifesto the game. But really, you can take all sorts of routes and approaches to playing this game, and it has really interesting and, quite frankly, hilarious dialogue. So let's just jump in and enjoy it. Is there anything you want to add before we get started?
No, nothing non-game related I would like to add.
Okay, let's start a new game here. And do we want to create our own, or do we want to go with one of the archetypes here?
So here's what I was thinking. I think we should create our own.
Okay.
I think specifically we should attempt to build our character. I've forgotten what his actual name is. I think I can. I'm going to call him Disco. I think we should try and build Disco as like the best cop we could build him, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I feel like that just comes into a more interesting roleplay situation, because we are then being forced to play somebody who is a cop, and I feel like that plays really well into the system of the game.
Yeah, and into the themes of the game, because keep in mind, a leftist interpretation of a game about police work, which this is, you're going to have to come across the fact that the police perform the violence of the state in order to protect capitalism. That is the role of the police. So you've probably all heard the term before, all cops are bastards. We are going to relabel that as all hobo cops are bastards, just as just as what's his name now? Another YouTuber did, because that is less likely to get me pinged and have all my content removed. So the meaning of that is that as a hobocop, you are enforcing the violence of the state. You are enforcing a hierarchy. You can always choose not to be a cop, and even if you have to take another job, Renegade Cut is the guy. Even if you have to take another job, or even if you have to take another job in order to survive capitalism, taking that job may make one person in a way more wealthy, but it doesn't directly enforce violence on your fellow citizens. Whereas being a police, you have to do that, even if you are a good cop. Anyway, so let's go ahead and
I feel like it's worth mentioning as well. By building a really good police officer, the game already has a lot of moments where just by being police and doing the most police thing, you have a much easier time progressing either through a situation or a conversation. And like what I know about the game, you're a veteran police officer. I feel like it makes sense to play that bastard. That makes sense. Like play that guy. But then obviously it's still us controlling him, so I guess it's going to go a little different. Or maybe we just let him roll as the bastard cop he potentially is, and then we just criticize his every decision. I don't know. I'm definitely on my own playthrough, on my own little thing. I've got a much more me focused thing where I've just jumped into the body of this falling apart disco man.
So that being said, I think we should just absolutely pump intellect if we're going to play this as ourselves.
I mean, if we really want to go for it, it would be like 2s across the board, possibly a 1 physique, depending on which country's police officer we want to play as.
Yeah, we'll go 1 physique. Let's be honest. Cops tend to, in most of the world, have guns. They can be fat. They're allowed to.
Okay. So I think
let's go with a terrible.
Yeah.
But
I think.
Oh yeah,
we're
you
good.
go.
We're good then.
Yeah. But I don't think we should actually have a ridiculously strong psyche.
No, you want. Well, okay. So if can you press next without aligning all of the points, just out of interest?
Yes. Can I go back? Yes, I can. Okay. Should we just go with horrible everything, but like genius level intellect?
No, that sounds like terrible. That sounds terrible. Okay, I think intellect should be like a 2. They're not terribly smart.
Oh,
terribly
you want to play this
intelligent.
as the cop? Sorry, I thought you wanted to play this as us. Okay.
No, well, I don't mind. We can go either way with this.
And then we can actually have more.
us.
We can even have more than 1 playthrough. So let's go as a cop for now. Let's do
Let's go
like
as
two physique, but give them decent motorics.
At least a 3, maybe a 4 even.
Because no matter what, like cops, even in the least trained areas on Earth, have like 2 to 4 months training, and they spend most of that time on their ability to shoot, their ability to essentially use motorics. Even if they become fat and lose their physique, your motor skill and your aim are actually harder to lose over time than just your physique. So I don't mind giving him some extra.
Oh no, me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither.
And if we're playing an average cop, maybe their psyche should actually be a bit stronger since they have to deal with a lot.
Yeah. I'm also thinking about what these skills play into, because in Psyche, you have authority as a skill, as a psych skill, as an emotional sensitivity skill. So I feel like that makes sense because that's kind of something
especially an old hardened bastard detective cop. Like maybe actually just almost like spend the rest of our points there. What do you think about this?
Yeah, let's take a look how this looks on the next screen.
Okay.
Because obviously, if Psych only has authority, because also in there is empathy, which, I mean,
we just don't give him that. We just don't give him that.
We just don't give. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So let's start with authority here.
Well, I'm just taking a look. I think Half-Light is the one we want to go for, because whilst they're not physically very good, Half-Light, which is in the physique side, is all about being physically threatening.
Yeah. So how to basically well, a lot of cops would say how to de-escalate a situation, but it's the opposite. This is how to escalate a situation. So,
and the only debate I have about where we sit at the moment is if we take a point out of psych and put it into intellect, just because we have visual calculus and like conceptualization, which are like specifically like cop skills, but that's more detective, or are you going more cop? That's the question.
We should go more detective if for this playthrough we're actually looking to play him accurately. Like, spoilers, you start with amnesia. But if we're going to give the skills that would lead you to be assigned to a case as a detective, he would probably have a decent intellect.
Yeah, you're not going to be completely out of it. So the question to me that I feel like going for like the physical abuse physique skill as our like extra point makes the most sense to me, because even without much physical strength, boy howdy, can police be very violently dominating. Just makes sense. The only other option would be something like visual calculus, which is basically crime-solving brain think.
Yeah, well,
but I guess we can get for that later.
I can tell you for a fact, I've actually done a lot of martial arts in my life, and there's a whole aspect of martial arts that isn't generally taught, but I think it's taught to police more, which is physical presence. Even like a fairly pudgy cop wearing 60 pounds of gear tends to have a surprisingly easy time restraining somebody. And the reason for that is, A, they often travel together, but even if it's only one cop, you'll see them restraining much larger men sometimes. And it's all physical presence and confidence.
There's also the element of you can't exactly fight back safely.
Yes, you can't safely fight back. You can't hit them. You can't really struggle away. That's a good point. But there is... But you've seen cops in struggles before. They tend to keep their composure, unless they think there might be like a single micron of fentanyl in a car, in which case they faint. But that's beside. Let's just confirm and move on.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And then I'm assuming we're gonna go as cop mode.
Yeah.
Maybe not full fash cop, but like still a bastard.
Let's try to be. Let's try to be how cops often see themselves, which is the tough on crime, anything to get the job done, but not necessarily... Yeah, the hero cop.
Yeah.
Because that is the most... Like, cops are actually taught to be hero cops. They're taught that people require the oppression they're under. They're taught that they need to be tough. What's that form of police teaching that's really... It's like warrior training that they do for a lot of cops.
Oh God, I've not heard of that.
To teach them...
Bear in mind, I'm from the UK. Our cops work a bit differently.
Yeah, it's bad. You can watch videos of this training, and they... I'll go out over this later. I'll actually get Jessica to describe some of these things to me because I forget them. The hero cop training.
It's the thin blue line thing, though, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Is that the one? Because I think I've seen where they're like, remember, it's you that stops the entirety of society falling down. You are the thing holding them up from crime.
Only warm,
Sorry,
primordial
that was an accident.
blackness.
It's all good. Let's roll.
Your conscious ferments in it, no larger than a single grain of malt. You don't have to do anything anymore. Ever.
Ooh.
Never, ever.
Tempting. What do you think about this? Never, ever, ever? Or simply keep on non-existing? Personally, I can fall easily into nihilism. Let's simply keep non-existing for...
Let's just keep non-existent.
Yeah.
An inordinate amount of time passes. It is utterly void of struggle. No ex-wives are contained within it.
By the way, interesting little bit of anarchy theory here. When I say nihilism, a lot of people actually treat nihilism as it's universally bad and negative in all ways. But nihilism, like every philosophy, has actually evolved over time, and even though all anarchists aren't nihilists, I'm not, there is a group called anarcho-nihilists. And instead of just thinking nothing matters anymore, let's all die, they've taken the approach that our society as a whole right now is absolutely doomed, and we should prepare for what comes after. So those are the doomsday preppers of anarchists. So just interesting little note on how a philosophy like nihilism can actually lead you to a positive goal, maybe.
I mean, I've always enjoyed the absurdist solution to existentialism. The Albert Camus just kind of like sort of roll with it, except that nothing really means anything if you deconstruct it.
Well, I've always been a fan of absurdism for humor, so I'm up for that as well. So let's see. No ex-wives are contained within it. Wait, okay, this is great. Give me some more, or what was that about X something?
I mean, I think let's go with the X something.
Yeah,
I feel like that's gonna get us towards somewhere.
I feel like I could maybe use an explanation for that.
An awareness creeps up on you. A mass lies hidden in your dead angle, soaking in some lurid acidic sauce. It's bloated and shameful. A ball of meat surrounding you. This is a terrible line of questioning, and it will only lead to more awareness.
You know what
The meat thing.
You know what I'm really loving about this game so far? How realistically it portrays an opening monologue for every time you wake up. Like, this is spot on every morning.
I do go through these moments. If you've ever attempted forms of like open eye or like pure awareness meditation, I feel like you go through some of this sometimes. Just the weird like falling apart, and then like suddenly you feel your arms again.
Well,
I hate that feeling, but you know.
Interestingly enough, due to some mental trauma fairly constantly and early in life, I actually have disassociated a long way with my body. This is not healthy. Do not do this. It is not an advantage. But it's led me to this situation where I feel like I am often a single step back from myself, which is quite a bit like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I went through that through secondary school for a big bit. Although it's to do with I think probably some very different sort of issues to yourself.
Yeah.
For the most part, I later in life, I did some illicit substances, and had this weird, distinct sensation of my own body. And that didn't exactly fix it, but like it sort of helped put some of it into reference for me.
Yeah.
I'm still at this weird point where like I still feel very aware of my limbs at all times.
Yeah. So let's put it this way: if you guys are ever having issues with depression, it might be worth looking into doing some mushrooms in Minecraft. But make sure, in Minecraft. But make sure that you do your research really well if you ever do that to deal with your mental health, and make sure that you have somebody there to set the mood. Also, have like some media ready in order to keep you active, and never ever do mushrooms in Minecraft. If you are currently feeling depressed or sad, try to make sure that you are in a good space before you do them.
Do it on a nice day. You can always do it another day if you're not feeling great.
But for now, I say we plunge back into a fathomless deep, because this meat thing is sounding horrible to me.
Here's my counter-argument.
Okay.
Here's my counter-argument. We're not playing us. We're playing a police officer. And you know what the police love? Questioning.
Questioning and possibly information about their exes. So
Exactly.
Ex-tenderness. It is foolish of you to resurface to the loss. Not after all the damage you suffered to get here. Some of it irreversible. Stay. Sail with me through the abyssopelagic zone.
Abyssopelagic, so like deep ocean? Is that an actual word, or did they just like combine Latin roots on me?
I think it's the second one, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, again, I think our answer would be the Allons-y, never let me go. But the police do like taking things from people.
Yeah. Burning down light, I want things from people. Interesting. Yeah, do we want this guy to have any aspect of self-introspection? Is he just doing his job, or does he occasionally consider what his job is?
I think maybe he's considering of his own job. He doesn't. He I think my mind is the guy we're playing is like really like good cop. He's the guy who got into the force to be a good guy, and is about as good as you can be as a cop. Like, he still reports minor drug use and stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes he reports some things when he's off duty as well. But, like, he's like, no, I do it for the good of people.
Okay.
I make sure to do good actions for people.
So he's sometimes
cool.
he's sometimes a bad cop, a hero cop, but always he thinks it's in the service of the people. So
Yeah. If he's a bad cop, he's bad against the police rules.
So he
for
probably
the right reasons.
So he probably does have a certain amount of nihilism in him, because I can't see being a good cop in the police system without facing some introspection. So I say we hit the Allons-y right now.
Allons-y, baby.
All right. Nothing down to fuck all, Borough.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna let you make the choice on this one. Return trip to the silence, please. Let's visit ancient Zero home. Look, there's an I am tired of being this type of animal. Who gives a shit?
I think I want to go 2, just because I want to know what Zero Home is.
Great choice, Elder One. It has always been like this, and it always will.
Okay, I want to snap decision. Don't stop. Keep singing. Sing me the song of death.
I mean, I like it too much. Just roll with it. Just roll with it. This can't have long-term
It's
consequences.
sweet and endless. But what is this? Somewhere in the soul, bloated man meet around you.
You know, everybody calls their dogs fur babies, but the second I call a kid a meat popsicle, I'm the worst pediatrician in the hospital. That's the one, right?
I think that's the one. I think that's the one.
Okay, let's continue
Like
on.
a fly to the ointment, your conscience sticks to it. The limbed and headed machine of pain and undignified suffering is firing up again. It wants to walk the desert, hurting, longing, dancing to disco music.
Not for long if I have these Minecraft mushrooms.
You can take it. You're a champion.
Hell yeah.
Oh, what? Huh.
Hell yeah.
Interesting. So we instantly made a volition check here.
Yes. So this does happen every now and then, where like your skills are aspects of who you are, and they still exist separate to you. They can all speak to you, and whenever you use them, they do speak to you as well. But there are going to be situations like this where they chime in by themselves. So like, there's one which is like tingles or whatever, and the idea is, if your skill is high enough, you'll sort of just like pick up on things going around the street, like a good police officer or something. But like, you know, and it doesn't come out as I sense this. It comes out as whatever Spine Tingles says something's up with this or whatever, you know.
You know what? Now I think we actually reverse tack a bit, because I assume like a cop that we're describing would probably give in to nihilism for a while, but eventually kind of like will himself awake.
Exactly.
So let's.
I am a champion.
Yeah, I am a
The
champion.
stench of liquor rises from your mouth, and with it, an ungodly headache.
Has anyone told you, narrator, that you'd make a decent golem?
Very good golem.
Ooh.
I hope someone cut off my head.
Let's.
Trying to murder the rest of me.
Who am I?
Peak
What's
hangover.
peak hangover? Okay,
This
peak
is all
hangover it
peak
is.
hangover.
Straight penetrates your skull, trying to force your eyes open. It's a sound, a clarion call from hell.
Clarion call from hell. I feel like I need to get this voice down. It's such a good voice.
Very much witch turn your fortunes sort of vibe.
Welcome to the hero of our story.
Hell yeah, man.
You know,
That's the schlub we signed up for.
exactly. What? So we have amnesia. Ooh. Okay. So you
Take
can
'em.
just. But who needs pants? Can we at least stay shirtless? Oh, here's our coat.
I mean, we can, but clothing's probably a good idea. Let's take that. You got that little flashing dot as well.
Okay. So let's.
Is here a jingle? Keys are clinking in the pocket of your flare-cut pants.
Cause flare cut or pear shaped, these pants don't lose their shape.
It says whirling in rags on the aluminium keyring. There is a single key on the ring. The number 1 is etched on it. It should open the door.
Wait, we have a lock on the inside of our hotel room?
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Okay, bit strange. I'm gonna go check out this bath.
Alright, right. If you press right click and hold it, you'll see everything interactable around us.
Okay. Cool. Oh,
nice, which is
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So we're supposed
We've got a
to
shirt.
go around and
bathtub
gather our
guys.
clothes, yeah.
I mean, we can take a look at the bathtub too.
What's
I don't think
this?
that door's going to do anything 'cause it's white, but... We got
Wants
the
me-
mirror. Maybe we can turn that sink off.
A mirror hangs above a bent and broken sink. In a fierce discharge of masculine energy, someone has ripped half the faucet off.
Ooh, you know how I like me, my fierce discharges of masculine energy. So one piece of leftist context that you may want if you're not educated is that patriarchy mainly disadvantages non-cisgendered people, non-men, and women. But everybody suffers under the patriarchy. Toxic masculinity is also a part of the patriarchy, and only really the men at the very top of the totem benefit completely from it. So when we fight against the patriarchy or aggressive male actions, we are also fighting for men, for a better world for everyone.
Hot water sprays from
The
base
movement's often
and
called
steam
something along the
covers
lines of
the
men's
room.
liberation,
You cannot see yourself,
not to be confused with
just the outline of a
MGTOW
man.
or other red pill adjacent ideologies.
It's men's liberation without denying the grievances of other genders and other people. Yeah.
Yeah, observation of how men are affected by certain presumptions, assumptions, and enforced ideas of how men should exist. Because men are affected by it.
I'm going to take a small break just to talk here about some experiences from my past. I actually only recently realized, like, people have been complaining about being misgendered, and in all honesty, I sometimes support the LGBTQ community, but I try not to talk about it since it's not my area of expertise. But growing up until about grade 7 or 8, I was actually very feminine, and I was misgendered as a form of bullying multiple times a day for most of my school life. It is horribly harmful to expect certain traits from men when they don't have them, and to encourage and push for these traits. And I'm sure that every single one of you out there who's a man has been a part of this. So when feminists are marching in the streets, support them, because they are protesting the patriarchy, and that will help you. Anyways, anything to add to that?
Just the one thing of, especially if you're a guy and you are straight, you're often very unaware of the experience of your own gender. It's a very weird thing to explain, but often you'll be, if you haven't spent some time like actually self-reflecting what it is to be gendered, just in general, as opposed to sexed, and you sit down and you're talking to somebody who's very aware of being a woman and what being a woman means, and they'll say all these things, and you're like, you don't have to deal with this if you're not a woman. And then you can always respond with, but I have to deal with these things as a guy. Generally, you're not saying that because that's something you're aware of beforehand. It's something you've started to think about as, what is the male equivalent of this occurring? But that's not
a healthy way of thinking.
First thoughts. She's very aware that she's a woman. She's not allowed to exist outside of being a woman. She's very aware of the things that changes for her, around her. Generally, most people will have that realization around like 20 or so.
Yeah.
For women, I would say normally younger, but by 20, I would argue most women have had that experience of, I'm not just existing, I am existing as a female. Whereas you'll happily talk to guys in their 40s who are male, know they are male, they are a guy, but they've never like had to realize they're going through life as a guy. That makes sense.
Yeah. One of the most descriptive interactions I've ever seen in terms of the difference between growing up as a man and growing up as a woman, and I'm not even going to get up growing up as a non-binary person. That has got to be a whole other kind of hell. But is an interaction I saw where somebody was like, you ask a guy guys will often say, what's the worst that could happen if you ask a girl out? You get rejected. But if you ask a girl the same question, what's the worst that could happen? It's, I could die.
Yeah.
And that is a common experience. Women have to plan for male aggression and patriarchal aggression in all ways, because many men feel like they are owed the affection of women. And it's a very different framing to grow up under. Anyways, let's continue on.
I mean, slightly on this topic, if we're talking about dating-related things, I don't generally favor or particularly enjoy dialectical analysis of things. I think it's got huge flaws. But for like very specific systems like dating, I think it's really interesting to just take a minute and imagine these two male specifically heterosexual dating. You can also encompass non-heterosexual dating systems around this, but you can focus purely on the dynamics between heterosexual men and women. in a shared space attempting to date, or what the dating relationship is. Guys are often the pursuers. Women, girls are often the pursued, as standard.
Yeah.
From there, start to think about, okay, guys have to then have certain personality traits and qualities to be outgoing, degrees of confidence, degrees of outwardness. How can a guy maintain masculinity whilst taking these risks to losing face? Well, generally you've got to hype up a big game. You've got to be prepared to pivot it round. So now you're female. You're being asked out. What is the relationship? Knowing that guys are going to have to up their own confidence. What is now your assumption of a guy asking you out? They have upped their own confidence. They are putting on a bravado. You are speaking to possibly the most confident person out of a group of guys. So you want to avoid this. You put yourself in a situation that makes it harder for guys to approach by standard, because you don't want to be pursued when you are out in a space where dating or adjacent activities could occur, like a bar. Suddenly, girls are all going around with groups. The guys then start getting annoyed that girls are only going around in groups because they want to ask girls out, without realizing that there's a vulnerability by themselves because they don't want to be constantly pursued, but they're protecting from. Guys then adapt their method, women adapt their and so on and so forth, and it builds. And if you do this like back and forth, and when you start thinking about like dating apps in this way, suddenly a lot of the behaviors that feel cliche or stupid, but like, why do girls always judge guys with fish pictures or whatever so harshly? Generally the answer is something a guy has done is the reason that women as an entire group will often hold a similar preconception. And then the vice versa is also true. And it's this horrible system you find yourself in. And you end up with some quite interesting conclusions from it, I would find. Generally, the best conclusion is to just sort of disassociate from the whole competition and realize that it's an absolute fool's errand, because you've got outside forces. Not to mention what happens to that sort of analysis when you start to factor in that some women might be gay or asexual.
Mm-hmm.
And then men have to operate around the assumption of, oh, you ever wonder where the whole, oh, you dressed like you wanted it, sort of, well, that only makes sense if you assume that women could... Yeah. Highly rate attempting to do a little bit of dialectical analysis on that, because it's quite a fun one to do it too.
For our audience, could you actually define what a dialectic analysis is? Because people might actually have a hard time doing that.
Okay, so it's pretty difficult, simply because nobody who's ever done it has ever concretely defined it, which on the one hand is why it's not good as a fixed system. Like, it's not an empirical measurement style system where you just measure, test, and repeat. A dialectical analysis is a method of analyzing an aspect of something, not simply by its one presentation, as in dating culture. If I was to do a more empirical analysis of dating culture, I would just track numbers. There are X amount of guys on Tinder, there are X amount of girls on Tinder, therefore there's this ratio of date. Dialectical analysis would be looking at the items within a system that are in conversation. Back to the dating Tinder example, there are more men on Tinder than women. So each man, it's in his best interest to swipe right on every single woman he comes across, because there is a small pool of women. For women, because there are less women to men, they have the luxury of constantly being swiped on, and they can just swipe whoever they feel safe and wanting and interested to date. This can then make guys more angry, and you get certain phenomena that emerge from factors in conversation, in having a dialect between each other. Obviously, these don't communicate with each other the same way people have dialect, but there is dialect that emerges between forces within any system. And then, I mean, there's the very famous dialectical analysis of labor capital, done by Marx, which people know. I think that's an actually stunningly poor choice of something to analyze, because it's just so big.
Well, that and like Marx's analysis of capitalism is very, very good, but his conclusions about what should be done had a slightly authoritarian bent to them, which at the time was introduced by a big push on the left to be more authoritarian. Most of the more libertarian thinkers, in the original meaning of the word, not the weird current American meaning, were kind of pushed to the background in favor of these kind of strong-arm approaches to implementing leftist social change. And Marx was by far not the worst offender in this, but it did allow for his ideas to be very taken over by authoritarianism in general.
it doesn't help that like a dialectical method, which Marx did apply very well to this very complex system, it doesn't help that a dialectical analysis doesn't give you answers about anything. You can't make conclusions like that. You can assume what's going to happen later, and you can see the dynamic that is built up, but that doesn't tell you what to do for a certain answer or a certain goal. That's not how it works. And there are certain strains of leftist thought that believe it does work like that, to which I would say I don't think even Marx really called it a science. He called it science in the sense of like it's a pursuit of knowledge, and it's some weird German translation of the word.
Yeah, okay.
It's some people like to over sciencify this method of analysis, keyword analysis.
Well, one thing that Marx is very famous for is kind of like codifying the labor value of work. But the problem that you will often come up with when people mention the labor value, or the oh god, I just got the term right now, I can't remember it. That way of analyzing labor is that it doesn't actually translate into price. And that's because they're missing the point. It's not supposed to translate. It's not supposed to translate into price. It is supposed to show that value comes from labor and price has nothing to do with it. Price itself is at present a capitalist construct. Everything,
which is a great example actually of the whole his analysis, because the dialectical analysis happened again on product and labor and price and labor and the interactions between these systems. And there's a very cool chart that he produced and everything, and showing how they're all independent and they interdependent and they all affect each other. But like you said, it doesn't conclude to anything. It just merely points out that labor is the most important input in the production of value.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Although we should probably get going because we're going to have an hour of episode here and 45 minutes of
You realize you have no memory
bad
of the
theory.
face that used to be there, underneath the soft vapor.
Ooh, no memory.
Have fun. I mean, I'm tempted to wipe off the mirror, but at the same time, if we're going down the nihilist section, this is very much you know what? No, too spooky.
Okay, you know what? Let's just nihilist it out here. Let's make him a good cop who's depressed by the system but still thinks it's necessary.
Exactly. And look, there's our little face in the bottom left. Look at that blurry, disgusting face.
Oh hell yeah! I love the art style in this game. What do we got in the bath here?
Beer, wine, and sweet liqueurs.
In the bathtub. Okay.
Hell yeah,
like,
baby.
Were you just lying down there without water going, drinking those? Okay.
I'm actually judging the radiator next to the bathtub pretty heavily.
You said
the radiator right above the bathtub.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know what's going on there, man. I don't like it.
What's the button to see all the things you can interact with? Oh, just right click.
Right click. Yeah, just hold that down. It'll pop up for you.
Got it.
Oh, you got your
There's
there's
two chain
yeah.
pull switches. One ends in a tiny fan, the other in a light bulb. A truly horrific necktie has somehow attached itself to one of the blades.
Truly horrific, huh?
Has it been consigned there as punishment? You feel as though this creature is your friend and wants to reattach itself to your neck so that you may continue your adventures together in this strange world.
So something I should mention that I did find about the game, it kind of implies it to you earlier on in the character selection. Inland Empire, it sort of implies that if you follow what Inland Empire does and you follow those impulses, you will go insane. I don't know how to interpret that because I didn't get anywhere in the game where like that insanity exists very much, nor did I have very high Inland Empire score. So just
maybe
keep that in mind.
If we're going like nihilist, maybe we should actually cave to some of these Inland Empire.
Oh, I don't know what it really means. I could not figure it out in the short time I played it, but it does imply that following this is the route to madness of some sort.
In all
Either
honesty,
productive or non-productive.
In all honesty, I could be misreading this. It could have a different meaning within philosophy than I am attributing to it. But an Inland Empire sounds kind of like a self-isolation of man. Drifting inwards, observing inwards, acting on nihilist instincts. That's how I would read it at a glance.
The worst aspects of self-reflection, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I say we savoir faire, which is know do. I don't exactly understand what they mean by...
I mean, it's a physical score. It's a motor score,
Yeah.
and we're very motor adept.
Yeah, so let's try it.
You swoop up.
Oh,
against
hell
it.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's released from the blade. Warning, warning. The necktie is no longer contained.
Has a bit of a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe to it, like a kind of a modernized version of that humor.
What
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
in your
like,
hand is a
yeah.
fantastically colorful tie with 4 or 5 different patterns. The knot reminds you of a noose.
Is the light on or off right now? Let's pull on the light bulb here.
It is off.
Terrible mistake.
Oh God.
Turn the lights off immediately. You can practically feel the photons burning a hole in your
Okay,
brain.
turn it off, turn it off,
Turn it off. Okay, turn the lights
Get it
off.
out.
The lights
Get
are
it
off.
off.
Okay, time to leave. We can leave the fan on, I think, right? Yeah.
You can leave that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so what we got? We got the tape machine, the cassette. We got the broken
Was this
window.
covered in leaves?
I think that's tape innards.
Oh, that makes sense. Let's hope that tape wasn't required in any way. I can sell that for half of whatever.
Half a currency. That's amazing.
Turn up the
there we
tape
go.
while the song
Yeah.
was playing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just a song. Let's check out what's on the tape. This reel-to-reel tape player is still on, rolling empty. Oh, I can't help but notice I have
A shoe.
one shoe. I am wearing
One
one of... Do I need both my shoes, or am I currently wearing a shoe?
I don't think we have a shoe on. We were butt naked.
Left
Oh, we got
shoe.
the left shoe.
Okay.
So we got the bottle.
And we can put the bottle
there
on
is-
our
there
right
is-
shoe, right?
Yeah, go on, give it a go. Hell yeah.
Commodore... You got drunk off of wine? What type
A
of
Magnum bottle?
What
A
type...
Magnum?
What type of cop gets drunk off of wine? Weirdo.
Well, he had a couple bottles.
The window
We got the,
stands broken
yeah.
in its frame. Cold wind blows in.
Oh, hey, baby. Cop skills.
The shards face outward. Whatever broke this window came from the inside.
So do you
Gonna be
know
the other shoe.
do you know much about
gonna
Terry
be-
Pratchett?
I do. I could never read his books because for some reason I really struggled reading them though.
I will at some point you in the direction of all the audiobooks. They're much easier to read that way. But there was one moment he has a entire cop arc, and it's actually one of my favorite arcs. It has some of the best characters, but you'll notice they don't actually behave like normal cops. They kind of behave how cops would behave if they were actually there to protect the proletariat instead of the capital interest. But it just in one of those scenes, they mentioned this assumption that you look at where the glass has scattered in order to see which way the window was broken. But but one of the big things is that this book teaches, and that he teaches as a humanitarian, is that sometimes there are more simple or more complicated explanations. What had actually happened in the scene is that the direction of the glass only indicated what direction the glass was in. Turns out an assassin had broken the window from the other side, then carefully picked up all the glass and scattered it outside.
That's a very Terry Pratchett situation.
Very Terry Pratchett. Okay.
A fine web of scarring covers the back of your right hand, but none of it is recent.
Okay, so this is a story that only happened in Minecraft. So at one point I was walking outside with a friend, and remember how I said I'm physically detached from...
Yes.
Yeah. And he was running his knuckles across the back of a fence and making a clinking noise, and I was like, I'll do the same. So I did that for like the full length of the fence. Then I got home, looked down at my hand. I had actually scraped most of the skin off of the back of my hand, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? And he was like, I was wearing brass knuckles. I was like, I wasn't. Jesus. Anyways, that was all in
Why did the
Minecraft.
kid have brass knuckles? That's my question there.
Why did he have brass? Have you met me? Anyways, well, that's true. I spent some time in my youth in Minecraft as an illegal weapon smuggler from Peru.
Shit.
Because my dad actually lived in Peru, so I would go down there when I was like 15, and I'd pick up mostly fairly innocent stuff like switchblades, butterfly knives, trench knives, brass knuckles. And then I would tape them all into a pile, put them under the plane, and bring them back to Canada. And sell them for a huge profit. It was a great time.
Damn. That sounds like a great Minecraft map.
Yeah, it was a
very
really
interesting
good Minecraft mod.
It's a really interesting Minecraft mod you got there, buddy.
More likely a projectile than a held object. There are no fragments.
It's my
on the
fucking
floor
shoe, isn't
from
it?
pulling a twig
It's gonna be the other
after
shoe.
impact.
Like, even just in terms of game design, it's definitely the other
It's
shoe.
the other shoe. Wait, what am I doing? Or assess the size of the impact?
Wait, what am I doing? Why am I copying? I'm not on the clock.
Well, actually, you are on the clock, which is a part of this game.
It's 8 a.m. That is non-cop time.
The thing is, you are currently on an extended investigation. All the stuff you do is cop stuff, and it is all officially endorsed. An interesting thing about cops is that, depending on, or like, the media almost will not turn on them as long as they are on the clock. There was a recent case where a cop was actually prosecuted for murdering a woman inside her own home. And the reason she was prosecuted wasn't because she murdered the woman, but because she specifically did it after she was out of uniform and when she was off the clock.
The officer was a
proper
woman.
interesting take.
The victim, I believe, was a man.
Oh, I thought the victim was a woman. Okay, either way. But you'll notice that if a cop even commits a completely unjustified murder in uniform, the media will actually jump to their defense, digging up backstories about why this person was no angel and why the cop was justified in their action, saying that a phone can look like a gun from a distance, forgiving almost absolutely anything. And that's because there's a common idea that floats around society that even dirty cop stuff is cop stuff.
Hang on, so it was a female cop who shot a guy.
Yes, in his home.
So I don't wanna make everything about gender.
It probably
I'm
is
just
partially
saying-
about gender.
I'm just saying it does slightly feel like it's trying to go like very immediate jumping to classic incompetent woman cop. Typical.
Yeah. Well, that being said, like, another time that a cop was punished for his actions was when his actions famously had a capital cost. There was a situation fairly recently where somebody secretly recorded an execution-style killing of a black man. I don't know the exact situation. I don't memorize all these things. But since the situation was recorded, it caused massive riots in the city. And those riots destroyed property. The cop was eventually charged with manslaughter, not with first-degree murder, even though it was an execution-style shot while he was handcuffed.
I'm sure that's because he was on the clock, though.
Yes.
Which therefore means it was the police that committed the actual murder.
But the fact that he was prosecuted at all was astounding, because that never happens. But what you can read in there is that he wasn't actually punished for killing the black man. Cops do that all the time for no reason. What he was punished for was the riots that destroyed property.
I mean, I think there's a very good takeaway lesson to be had here. And it's generally burned property, but, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
in
just me.
Minecraft. In
Minecraft.
Yeah. I'm always burning down houses in Minecraft. Wait,
Do
what?
some of that Minecraft griefing, baby.
Yeah. You come across a village full of, like... weird. This metaphor is getting weirdly specific.
This
full
metaphor
of
is sliding hard, man.
Yeah, no, let's wait. Let's wait. What am I
Something
doing?
you've done before.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Fine.
That's sure. I'll
It
set
is
the size.
too large for a bullet, yet too small for a piece of furniture.
It's the shoe.
You're looking
It's
for
the shoe.
something heavy and larger than your fist.
Yeah, it's a shoe.
The
It's the
single
shoe.
green shoe you found fits the hole almost as well as your foot. It would
Let's
have
go get
also
our
been
shoe.
heavy enough if thrown with force. Congratulations. You smashed the window with your own shoe. Now you only have one. If you're lucky, you could still find the other one on the balcony outside. The door to it
I'm
should
just
be
laughing at
outside your
option
room.
3. I don't need it anymore.
What?
I don't need anyone, sorry. It's like,
Oh.
I don't need it. No, whatever.
Okay, we number 3 doesn't make sense for our character. It's funny though.
It doesn't make sense. We're not a double down dumb cop.
No,
like-
I think we know we're depressed. I should go get that shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should
The
go get that
cool
shit.
wind gushes in. Your toes curl up from the cold.
Okay. Well,
5 XP, baby.
I love getting XP for waking up and finding out that I threw my shoe out the window.
Where did I throw my shoe?
Probably my favorite
excited about
recurring game mechanic.
set up an infinite XP glitch IRL and just continuously throw shoes out my window every night.
Was there no way to this balcony?
I think if you go a little further down, I think it runs along the building.
Okay. I'm just gonna go. Well, let's see what this is all about first. There's something on the table. Okay.
Money.
Oh, money.
Money.
40 reals.
Hell. 0.40.
0.40.
Hell yeah, baby. Not even 40.
0.40 reals. I do love finding 40 cents on a day. It's such a low amount of money these days. However, of course I've never told you this. We haven't met that long ago. I have a ridiculously active, absolute hatred for nickels. They bother the ever-loving fuck out of me. Mm-hmm. They're so...
You know,
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Do you know about the Japanese 1 yen coin?
Oh, fuck me. Half a penny? Jesus.
No. 100 yen is about $1.
Oh God, it's one. Yeah, no. So
it's less than a cent. It's less than a cent. It's considerably less. It's terrible.
If I'm not mistaken, last time I checked the yen, it was kind of at like a bit like 30% under 1 yen for 1 penny.
It was it's been fluctuating a little bit. So like about a week ago, because of my situation, was greatly benefited by the absolute plummet of yen value. Oh. I did great. I took out like so much money at once, which is doing me fantastic because the value of the yen is steadily recovering. Unfortunately for me, good for Japan's economy, I guess, but whatever.
Oh, well, let's grab this shoe.
Someday we'll do a proper thing about GDP.
Yeah, just keep in mind for now that like GDP is not a very good measure of citizen wealth in any system.
No.
There they both are. 2 identical shoes, both copiously green and indiscriminately snake-shaped, reunited on your feet, like 2 baby crocodiles.
How do they fit though?
Yeah.
Good. They're balanced.
Hell yeah.
Balanced
Feels like
shoes.
The only good thing about you right now.
Maybe this shoe was made for throwing. A well-balanced shoe?
A well-balanced shoe? I mean, personally, as a vegan, I would want to take these off immediately, but I mean, it's cold. It's cold. The man needs shoes.
Okay. So I very much do understand the vegan dislike of any animal products being used for clothing, but there is one minor exception I would like you to consider. Mm-hmm. And it might not even apply anymore. When I was born in Yellowknife, far, far north. Mm-hmm. If I didn't have, and at the time, fake fur was not very high quality. If you did not have a fur-rimmed hood for the winter, your face would literally fall off.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very well. Somebody with me here, not in my house or anything like that, but they're actually from the Yakut province of Russia, which is exactly the same sort of situation. I think it gets to like -50 pretty regular.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like, I mean, the vegan position on it is not like we should take all of their fur and leather, but like...
Hello, officer.
The sheer statement. The statement basically boils down to, yes, I'm sure there are still areas where it's completely needed at the moment, because for whatever reason, I couldn't possibly think why. We haven't attempted to make an alternative solution because we decided it was probably a wrong thing to do. I'm sure if we decided it was a wrong thing to continue doing collectively as a society, we would all go, what would solve this problem without needing animal parts?
Yes.
You know?
I think if we applied...
That doesn't justify me or you buying leather, or me or you buying fur.
But it does
use it like that.
It does justify the coats that I had when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got a hand-me-down coat with goose feathers in it. Like, it was given to me. I didn't ask for it. They didn't buy it for me. There was none of these things. It would be so stupid of me. It would be so impractical of me to get rid of it purely for that. I've had to do minor fixes on it, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's stupid to get rid of something that actually functions. Now, if it comes to the point where it needs to be repaired and part of that repair is going to be non-vegan produce, then I'm just going to get a new coat. I'm not... You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely get it. And in Alberta, where I live now, the winters get cold, like -30, -34. But that is not fur coat cold. All these people buying these Canada Goose coats for fashion reasons, they are doing a horrible, horrible thing. The amount of
yeah.
carbon emissions needed to ship the animal products and to produce the animal products, not even accounting for the morality of veganism and animal hierarchies, which, by the way, not all anarchists actually agree that animal hierarchies should be included in anarchism, or at least not immediately.
Interestingly enough, though, it does seem to be actually a current talking point, at least on like sort of in slight smaller lefty circles of anarchism.
Yeah.
It's not like a constant forefront thing, but it's definitely something that's passively been going on in the past like 2-3 years.
And in all honesty, I am actually with the anarcho-vegans, but I don't think they are doing themselves any favor with their militancy against other anarchists. They should treat their goals, their specific vegan goals, as something that other anarchists could help them with, whether or not they are currently vegan. Like, it's a huge struggle for a lot of people in many different parts of the world to actually engage in veganism, and that is even further complicated by food allergies. My mother and father wanted to be vegan when I was born, but I was born allergic to eggs, milk, and all nuts. And that makes it, yes, all nuts.
Christ.
I actually got over a lot of the allergies as I aged, but
Does that mean legumes too for you?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Oh.
And
legumes are like a third of my diet.
Exactly. And at the time, living in Yellowknife, that just wasn't possible, especially on a fairly low wage.
Oh, which interesting enough, actually. So one of the bigger aspects of, I would argue, more coherent vegan communities. It's not all vegan communities, but generally people talk about this in a more practical sense. The vegan goal is not so much like, people often see it as the forceful banning of produce, or forceful banning of something that's occurring would be the vegan goal. But the goal is actually just to create a cultural stigma against it, and to pressure and attempt to discover and promote completely valid alternatives. Like, I'm sure you've never tried making your own seitan before. I'm sure your parents don't even know what seitan is.
I do know what seitan is, though. I've been wanting to try it.
It's goddamn delicious. If you buy some Vital Wheat gluten, it's actually really goddamn easy to make. I love the stuff. Well, it's fantastic, super versatile.
And also, we are, and I don't know what vegans think about this, but we are actually entering an age of grown and 3D printed meats as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I can't speak for all vegans. There's a version of it where they take cells and then they allow those to grow on 3D printed structures.
Mm-hmm.
And that, because it's still a growth of a cell, the vegan argument isn't about... Some vegans are vegan for ick reasons, I would broadly say. I do not fall in that category. At no point have I found like meat gross or anything. So ick vegans, not going to go near it. Vegans who I think there is a consistent and an inconsistent argument against it. The inconsistent argument is it's a direct copy of meat, therefore it should not be consumed by a vegan. I think that's just the
argument is pedantic as hell.
I hate it. The argument I can agree with is you're still producing food which requires the suffering and ownership of another animal, and more specifically their living body has to be owned by you to do it, where you have to continuously take out samples for it. Now, in terms of a harm reduction argument, it's miles better. But in terms of like actually being vegan, it's not vegan. It's better, sure, but a vegan should not be going out of their way to eat it, because a bit like a good anarchist, whilst we agree that harm reduction would be the ultimate, would be a better thing overall, we're not gonna go into like the most left-leaning political party around and spend years of our life working to really make sure that Labour Party gets into government this time. We might vote them as opposed to Conservatives, but we're not gonna, we're not joining the Labour Party of the UK.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
What a bureaucratic mess that fucking party is.
You know what? The bureaucracy is my favourite part of the party, actually.
Oh god. Okay, go on. This is the end of the episode, so wrap it up. Let's...
Fine, great. Okay, so basically in recent years we had, may or may not, we had Jeremy Corbyn as the head of the Labour Party. Wow, this guy brought soft left people who were still like in the socialist side of soft left rather than lib left. Like my mother, for example, actually went out, registered as Labour. They went through more steps than most people do to vote. Lots of people did this. Yet because his views were actually socialist, with, among other policies, free broadband. Wow, would that have been good recently? Insulated homes. Wow, would that have been good recently? Renationalizing energy and train lines.
Yes,
wow, would that have been good
please.
recently? I don't know if you're aware that train prices skyrocketed recently in the UK, like to insulting levels. All of these policies were basically pre-planning for the absolute garbage that has happened in the past 4 years to a comical level, to an absolute comical level. Not to mention the fact that there was a bunch of other traditional lefty ideas, like wanting to build more council houses or letting councils build them again. I can't even go into all the details of why it's a ridiculous state we're in the UK. He was the single most electable person. He's not even perfect. He's just actually left-leaning. I think technically he's identified as a Trotskyist.
Ooh, okay. Still, yeah, no, I'd prefer that to a capitalist, so whatever.
Right. So, we've got this guy. He genuinely cares. He goes around. He is the most sincere politician I think I have seen in the UK reach so far up in so long. So much independent support. So many people support him. So many people went out and voted and registered to vote just to be... He got Labour's numbers up to the highest they've ever been. And then he lost the election after 3 internal re-elections where the Labour, people who ran Labour went, he's too unelectable, his ideas are too radical, we need to elect somebody else. And then he won the internal election. And then they went, no, okay, it's between him and these 3 other people, now pick, and he won again. And then that kept happening inside, completely destroying Labour. This is during a campaign year when they're trying to win votes. They're wasting their time with this stuff.
Welcome to something similar that happened with Bernie Sanders. He's not even that progressive.
It gets worse. It gets worse. Then the internal of the party, some messages get leaked. There's things like anti-Semitism spikes, quote-unquote, under Corbyn, because he reinstated the hate crime aspect of the Labour Party to investigate these things. They were not recorded before because no one was recording them. He put people in the position to record the complaints and deal with them. So yes, the numbers went up. And then, after they lost, they went, it was because of Corbyn. And they basically kicked him out of the party.
Jesus.
It was later found out, and there's a report about this. I cannot find the report. I cannot remember what it's called, but I keep bumping into it, where it turns out this was all orchestrated by a variety of right-leaning Labour members within the party who thought he was too radical to be elected, and even if he was elected, wouldn't be good for the country because he's actually left-leaning as opposed to just a liberal. And now we have Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer was literally named by his parents, as far as I can tell, after the man who founded the Labour Party, a party of trade unionists. Fuck! And he was an ex-police officer, basically. And now he wants to relabel... Yeah, he was a royal HMRC person, basically a court-provided lawyer. But I think he worked on the side of police.
As a prosecutor.
And I think that's what he did. He was HMRC somewhere though, and he's tried to rebrand Labour as the party of law and order, which is a dog whistle and a half in the US. I don't know what the hell it means in the UK. Shockingly, Labour's doing terribly. And then oh my god! And when this happened, by the way, there's a socialist wing called Socialist Appeal in the UK. 2,000 members are in the Labour Party, and their whole point is to bring Labour to more socialist policies. They all got kicked out.
Oh. Anyways, so, by the way, this is a new type of show, a new style of show for me. I know we aren't making that much progress in the game, but really this is more about the conversation and education. So if you have any honest questions about anything we've talked about, or you'd like clarification, or you have corrections, please do tell us in the comments. But if we find anybody who is acting in bad faith, this is not a place for right-wing assholes to engage and to insult us. I will ban you instantly if I find you arguing in bad faith or to push a pro-hierarchy agenda. If you are legitimately interested in any of the topics we talked about, we will expand upon them or at least try to answer your comments. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this ridiculous hour of getting 10 minutes into the game. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.